Thanks, Bill. And thanks for everyone on the call for taking some time and educating ourselves together on iPort. As Bill was saying and highlighting there, it is an exciting category. I always like to talk about iPort as, a very Apple-centric product, obviously. And, Apple products are on the cutting edge of technology. So just an exciting category to be a part of. I want to go ahead and just dive into the presentation here. So at iPort, our focus is on enhancing the user experience of mobile devices, IoT, and the connected home. So we're really interested in how people interact with their home technology and with their systems in their connected home. And if you look at the history and the timeline of iPort and the products that we've launched since the inception of iPort in 2004, you can see that it's about what devices are people using to interface with their home, and how do we improve on those devices and help it be part of that connected home system. So, with the iPod inception in 2004 and our first dock, you can see that we're interested in that. And as we continue forward, and the iPad made a big impact in the market, and we created the first in-wall mount for an iPad as well. So again, we're just very interested in that interface and continuing to innovate and provide ways that our dealers can integrate with Apple products and better make a more robust system for the end user. I want to look at this a little bit deeper, because if we look at it, every smart thing, it has an app. And those apps all live on an iPad, and they live on our iOS devices. Many control systems exist to automate the connected home, and they all have apps. So the mobile device has become a controller of the connected home, right? So we all are kind of attached to our phones, but users shouldn't have to constantly be on their phone in order to control their home. This picture of this toddler, it kind of reminds me a lot of my home. I have young kids in my house, and I think they probably showed this sign of frustration before. As mom and dad are constantly on their phones, we're already on our phones enough to check emails and answer text messages and update our social networking accounts, but we're also on our phones because we're trying to control different things, and the home is a big part of that. It starts to take away from what it means to be home, though. And I noticed this again. I'll kind of do this, and then I'll look up, and then I'll see, all my kids are kind of like, they're eating dinner or they're doing their own thing, and here I am, on my device, and because I'm trying to turn on music or I'm trying to adjust the lighting. So it really starts to take away from it. But what if there were dedicated devices in your home that interacted with it, that were in the right place at the right time? This is where we really see the strength of the iPort line come through, because we can have dedicated devices that are purpose-built of a variety of different form factors that can allow us to interact with the home in a better way. And that's what iPort exists to do. The result would be a much better user experience and a more complete smart home. So we can see how these different iPort systems can drop into here, and we'll dig into these more in a second. Let's look at the lineup. If you look at the surface mount, the launch port, and then our new Express keypad that we just came out with, you can see that there's a different user interface element for each one. And they're all purpose-built. They all have their individual purpose, but again, making the total system stronger. So you can see the stationary glass, right? We all love our iOS devices, and that's where you can get the richness and the detail of apps. Sometimes we want those to be stationary. In other words, we don't want them to be moved. I go to the iPad in my kitchen, and I have it in a stationary mount because I want to make sure that it's always there. But then I have other iPads like in LaunchPort type of systems because I want to move them. I have one in the living room on a LaunchPort stand because I want to pick it off of the stand and I want to take it over to the couch and use it and then bring it back to the stand whenever I'm done with it. So you have different types of solutions that are needed. You have mobile and stationary solutions. And with our Surface Mount and LaunchPort products, they fit that need. But in addition to the deep richness that you get through apps, you also want instant access to key functionality. And that's where our new buttons systems really come into play. And you'll notice that we'll have these button systems that work as a part of another system. In other words, we have Surface Mount with buttons that we'll talk about in a little bit. We have LaunchPort with buttons. But we also have the new button keypad, like the Express Audio keypad made for Sonos. And those are for instant access to key functionality. Because you don't always want to go into an app to have access to favorite functions. And again, these are available as part of some of the other systems that we've already talked about. And then we also have our new standalone keypads. Now I just want to spend a little bit more time and educate us on the product lineup. I won't spend a ton of time on some of the products that have already been released or have been in our line for longer. I want to just hit on those quickly. But I want to spend more time talking about our newer products like our Surface Mount and our Surface Mount with buttons and the Express Audio keypad. So let's just take a quick look at the LaunchPort lineup. The LaunchPort, again, it's that hold, charge, and protect functionality like Bill was talking about in the beginning. It's an inductive charging system. It utilizes magnetic mounts available in a pedestal or a wall station. And you'll see a little bit from this animation just how the iPad slips into that cover. And again, this product's been around for a while. It's the strength of our lineup. And so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time looking at that, but that just shows you a little bit of how it fits and how it functions on the base station and how it fits into the sleeve there. And then again, this animation will show the wall station functionality and a quick install of how that installs. You'll notice that on both mounts, the iPad can be viewed in portrait or landscape. It can easily be rotated. It's intended to have a station, which could be the base station, like on the far left, or it can be the wall station. And then it's also that the second part to that system would be a sleeve. And again, taking a sleeve and a station makes a complete LaunchPort system. I want to touch really quickly also on the accessory that's available there. We talked about the additions of buttons and what that can mean for a system. LaunchPort with buttons was our first button system. And the way that integrates is we have programmable buttons. So you'll see there's 5 buttons, and it slips onto the sleeve as an accessory. So you just take the sleeve top off that comes with it, and then you can add this additional LaunchPort with button sleeve. And they're, again, programmable buttons. They give you access to key functionality without having to go into an app. But the LaunchPort with buttons, it is basically just a Lutron Pico. We use the Lutron Clear Connect interface or the radio signal, and through that RF signal, we're able to communicate directly to a Lutron system. So the key part is here, though, is that you don't have to just talk to Lutron devices. You need a Lutron interface. So if you're doing lighting control, that's very easy. But you can also have it do audio functions as well. But you would need to have the Lutron, like a Lutron cassette bridge, or like a Lutron radio raw repeater. You would need that equipment in place to make the Lutron or the LaunchPort with buttons work, because it basically is a 3BRL Pico built into our sleeve. This product's been in our lineup for quite some time, but I did want to make sure that we were refreshing that and just talking a little bit about that. If you'd like more information on how that integrates and how to make that work in your Lutron or any of your other control systems, I'd be happy to talk about that offline or answer the questions at the end as well. All right, let's look at the Surface Mount product. So again, the LaunchPort piece, that's the wireless, it's the mobile type of solution. so you can easily remove the iPad. But then there's sometimes where you don't want the iPad to be removed. You want it to stay in one place. Perfect example of this is in a commercial application. The surface mount really works well because you don't want those iPads to be removed. You don't want them stolen or being lost. So surface mount is about being able to mount on any surface. Also, if you would handle this, if you would see this mount, it really is a beautiful aesthetic mount. It's made from a high-end aluminum bezel piece. So it's machined aluminum. It's available in different finishes, but it's really adaptable too. There's some times where you can't make a launch port system work because of how it needs to be mounted into the wall, but a surface mount is very easily mounted, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But a variety of different surfaces, masonry surfaces, concrete surfaces, wood surfaces, of course, drywall and plaster, and even glass are options with the surface mount. A couple little features here I want to point out. We talked about the high-end bezel. It's available in 3 different finishes. I'll show you that here in a second. There's also a brand new power option that we're really excited about. As we launched the surface mount, we also came out with our first PoE power option. So it uses a PoE splitter, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But it can also use 24-volt 2-conductor as well. So basically, any wiring infrastructure that's in place, we've made this surface mount piece so that you can easily adapt and retrofit and make those wiring solutions work. And again, any surface, anywhere, it's easy to mount a surface mount. A surface mount system consists of 3 basic components. You have the bezel piece, the splitter, which is the PoE device. That's the part that's going to take PoE or 2-conductor power, low voltage power, and it's going to convert it into a USB so that you can utilize the USB to lightning connector that comes with each iPad. The other piece that you may or may not need is the 3rd component. That's the injector. So pictured here is just our standard receptacle injector, but if you have a PoE switch in place, that would be fine as well. But we do have an optional injector that you can include as part of the system. Here's how the iPad installs into the bezel. So the bezel is face down. You slide the iPad in with the charging cable attached. And then you'll notice the last little part of that, which is quick at the end, but it has these little black plastic pieces embedded into the bezel. You just take those and you slide those over so that they lock the iPad in place. This animation shows the PoE splitter and how the connections work in conjunction with that. You'll notice it has USB power out, and it has a Cat5, Cat6 connector input for the PoE, and then that little blue Phoenix connector there, that's actually where you can connect the 2-conductor wiring if you're utilizing that power option. This last animation just shows you how the wall installation portion would go. You'll notice it's a standard single gang or double gang box is the rough end. And then you can attach that mounting plate. You can actually attach it, like we showed in the animation, you can attach it directly to a wall surface, be that wood or even drywall. You don't even have to use any additional accessories like plastic and plastic screw covers or anything like that, or any dog toggles. You can actually just attach the screws that are included with the kit. They're specially designed screws that can go right into drywall or right into plaster without the use of any other accessory. So we really made it a convenient way for you to mount it on any surface. Then the last animation just shows the completed assembly, the splitter going into the wall, and then the bezel, the aluminum bezel, is held on with magnets to that metal plate. Let's take a little bit closer look at the bezel, though. I switch to the right slide here. So here's the bezel. This is the surface mount bezel. And again, it's made of high-end machined aluminum. Available in 3 different bezel finishes: the black anodized, the silver anodized, or the powder-coated white finish. Another key function, though, of this, again, is that it's intended to be a permanent type of mount for an iPad. So the iPad's not going to be mobile. It's not going to be removed from this bezel. In fact, we even have security locks, as you see pointed out here on the screen, that actually allow you to lock the bezel into place, so that if it's in a commercial environment, the iPad is locked in with a security screw. We also have audio waveguides, and you can utilize the iPad microphone, so that if you're using the iPad for like an intercom type of system, know that this mount is set up for that. Here's the surface mount lineup. So you'll notice that it goes back to Mini 1, 2, and 3, has one model. Whenever Apple released the iPad Mini 4, they actually made the iPad about an 1/8 inch longer. So there's a special bezel for the iPad Mini 4. But those are the 2 different mini models. And then we start with the Air 1, the iPad Air 1 and Air 2. And then also the Pro 9.7 fits into the same bezel. And then the last one is our newest product in the Surface Mount, is the Surface Mount Pro 12.9 inch. And this is a very popular option for like a TV. If you wanted like a catch-up TV in the kitchen, or if you're mounting a TV in the bathroom, we actually find that this iPad Pro model 12.9 is a really good interface for that type of environment, because you get the full beauty of the iPad, you get all the functionality of the iPad, but you can also run a TV like a DirecTV app or a Dish Network app, and you can easily have your TV functionality as well. And then you'll see the retail price points there at the bottom of the page. Let's talk about the Surface Mount with buttons. This is our newest addition to the Surface Mount line, and I think it really combines together the richness of apps like we talked about a little bit earlier, but then you also get key access. You get access to key functions through an included IP keypad that we have mounted on the side of the bezel. So you're basically getting all the benefits of an iPad plus an IP keypad all in one device. The same 3 finishes will apply, and you'll see that the buttons are coordinated with each type of finish. So you're going to get the black buttons with the black and the silver, and then with the white finish, you get a beautiful white button as well. These buttons are all going to be laser engraved, so they'll be backlit, and you can see there's 30 plus buttons included with that kit, and then there's also an option too for additional engraving. So if you wanted to have like scene buttons with customized scenes, you could have those buttons engraved as well. Here are the different models. We have a 6-button and a 10-button model. You'll notice, compared to the other Surface Mount, we do not make this bezel for Mini 1, 2, and 3. We make this bezel for Mini 4 in a 6-button and a 10-button model, and then you have the bigger size iPads as well, all available in 6-button and 10-button models. We already looked at the installation, so I'll skip over that. We didn't really talk about the Surface Mount glass option. I didn't include that in the deck just for time's sake, but you can use the Surface Mount on glass. We actually have an accessory that allows you to mount that, and basically what that accessory consists of is a few adhesive tabs, so like a 3M adhesive tab that we have specially made for the mount. You can use those tabs, and then there's also a plastic blackout piece that goes on the back side of the iPad, so that if you're standing on the other side of the glass, you can't see the back of the iPad and all the mechanical parts of the Surface Mount. So there's a blackout piece and then some 3M tabs, and then you can mount that on the glass. But it's key to remember, though, the Surface Mount with buttons does not work on glass because of the ribbon connector technology, the ribbon connector that we have to have included in that. And I'll show you that here in a second. Here's the customized buttons that we have for the Surface Mount. So you'll see they're all kind of universal icons. There's no text, so that if you're working with a client that wants the scenes in another language, you don't have to worry about that with the pre-printed buttons. And again, these buttons are included in every kit. You can easily field swap the buttons. We have a 10-button and a 6-button model again. Here's how you field swap the buttons. Animation will show you how the PCB comes off the back, and then the ribbon connector lifts up, and then you can easily swap out the buttons. I want to talk a little bit about this. This is actually an update from Apple. Has allowed us to add an additional functionality to this mount. So I'm not sure that everybody's aware, but you can actually hardwire an iPad. Apple made that a functionality after iOS 8. So with the release of iOS 8 software, they actually allowed you to hardwire a data connection to an iPad. So you can have an iPad hardwired on the network. Now with our surface mount bezel, you can easily utilize this functionality, but you will need to purchase some additional adapters from Apple to make this happen. This wiring diagram shows you how to hardwire that iPad. So you can see there's the Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter. That's what would plug into the iPad. And then into that adapter, you would use an Apple USB to Ethernet adapter, and then you would hardwire your data connection into that. It's important to note, though, if you're going to utilize this, this feature, you will need to actually pull 2 CAT cables to each location. You'll need 1 CAT cable for your data connection, and then 1 CAT cable for your charging functionality. And you'll see how that works. We have our splitter then hooked into to a Lightning pass-through on that Apple Lightning to USB adapter, and then it's also connected there to the other Cat5 for power. You'll see that IDC serial cable. That's actually what provides the data connection to the buttons. Okay, so basically your buttons are going to be assigned an IP address on the network, and that's why you need to have 2 different CAT cables running to that surface mount bezel. This is a change. You can hardwire any of the iPads, but it's important to note, though, that right now we only have a few select bezels that are working with this hard mount. So the key thing to take away here is if you need to hardwire an iPad, you're just going to want to make sure that somebody at Allnet is aware that you're looking to do that option, and then we'll make sure that we get you the right bezel. This is a running change for us. So not all of the bezels are compatible with this right now. They will be in the future, but we can manage that and help you make sure that you get the right amount. But I think it's really good to know that you can hardwire an iPad if you have that location where you're worried about a Wi-Fi connection. Let's talk about how to set up the surface mount with buttons a little bit. So the setup is pretty easy. Again, the buttons will be assigned an IP address on the network. So the first step, obviously, would be to find out what that IP address is. We use a network scanner. Here I'm showing an example of using a Thing network scanner. But you can just scan your network, find out what that IP address is. You'll notice the third one down shows 10.0.1.3, and that's our iPort bezel. And you'll see you'll see the manufacturer name. It always comes up as iPort. So now I have the IP address for that. I could plug that into the browser and use my configuration utility. I do want to be clear, though, because the configuration utility is actually, that's where you would need to go if you wanted to change the brightness, if you wanted to change the color of the backlighting, if you wanted to change something about the IP address or set it into a different mode, you could use this configuration utility. However, you don't have to use the configuration utility. The IP buttons are going to be controllable via a third-party control system. So you don't have to utilize this configuration utility to do any control or any programming. This would just be where you go into, like I said, to change backlighting or to change brightness or to change something about the IP address. So if you are okay with white being the color and the backlight at 75% brightness, there would be no need to go in here and change this. If you did, however, want to make a change to the color, you do have the ability to customize that. There's some standard colors already set up, but there's also an RGB code that you can just plug in whatever color you want in the color spectrum. The third step is just your programming. So here we're showing a Savant system, but there's a lot of other control manufacturers that we work with as well, and I'll highlight those here in a second. We have a lot of partners. There's been a lot of companies that have utilized our API and written programming for this and written controllers. So we'll talk about that in a second, but I'm just showcasing this Savant piece here, just so that we can take a look at what the programming looks like. And again, you'll see between this screen and this screen, I'm actually pressing. I have certain buttons pressed here. And as I press those buttons, you'll see that the state trigger is actually changing from press to release. You can see I have different, there's different values for each one of my buttons. This is a 10-button system. You'll notice that down the left-hand side. But you'll notice that I am pressing and releasing different buttons between these two screens. So there they're all released. And in this screenshot, I have a few that are pressed. So from there, you can just go ahead and program and make those buttons do whatever you'd like inside the control system. Very simple, very wide open integration. We talked about the launch port with buttons earlier. That's a very, we're utilizing Lutron system, so that's kind of like a closed type of system. But with the new Surface Mount with buttons, it's very open-ended on the possibilities and the integration there. It's talking directly to the particular control system that you're using. And again, let's look at some of those partners. We have Savant has written modules, Crestron has written drivers as well, Control4, Simple Control, RTI, Elan has written, we just recently has launched their driver. We also have URC and Pro Control is working on their driver as well. I'm going to skip over a couple slides here. Just want to look really quickly at the engraving process. So again, we do have a laser engraver in-house, and we're able to customize the buttons. And those are available in a 10-pack. So if you want one button, you have to purchase all 10, or if you need all 10, those are included as well. So there's a form online, and I'm actually going to show us the website. We'll take a look at the website together to look at some of those features, and we can see that form in there as well. All right, so the last product that we have in our lineup that I want to talk about is actually our newest product. We're still in the pre-release schedule right now on the Express Audio keypad, but that product will be releasing here in the next few weeks. So let's talk about the Express Audio keypad for Sonos. It's direct control for Sonos. You can control any Sonos device anywhere, anytime via the Express Audio keypad. The other thing that I really like about this Express Audio keypad is it reduces my time to music. We all know and love the Sonos app and the devices. The app is great, but I find that in order for me to play music utilizing the app, if I walk into my home and I don't have any music on and I want to start playing music through my Sonos system, I have to get out my phone, I have to open the app. There's a certain amount of button presses and time that it takes to do that. Whereas if I have a quick device that's mounted on my wall, like the Express Audio keypad, I can walk into the room, I can press play, and I can be listening to music. And again, it reduces that time to music. It reduces the amount of hassle that I have to go through to begin enjoying my Sonos music system. Some of the key functions, some of the key features here. It is a Wi-Fi keypad. It's battery powered, and the last thing is on the form factor and on the aesthetic is its Decora size. So we utilized a common aesthetic that people are used to in the control interface side. You can use it on any Wi-Fi network, and you can use it anywhere around your house. So you can easily remove it from the wall and take it outside and start using it outside. With the lithium-ion battery that we're utilizing, you're going to get about 3 to 6 months of battery life. And then we've included a micro USB charging cable so that you can charge it whenever it's ready. So there's no annoying batteries to swap out. It's just an easy charge. It usually takes about an hour to 2 hours, and it's ready to go again. And again, it utilizes that Decora opening. You can install it on the surface of any wall. It doesn't need to have a back box in place. It comes with an adapter plate that you can just easily mount onto the wall. And then you can mount a faceplate over that if you want, or you can even just utilize the peel and stick mount that comes with it as well. So if you have like a cabinet or something that you want to mount it on, you can easily mount the Express there, or you can utilize the Decora mount like we talked about. And it's got a magnet on the back so that it easily can be, like we're showing here in the video, you can put it on a corner bead of drywall. Anything that's magnetic, anything that's metal, you can easily attach it to. The refrigerator is a great place to utilize that as well. But again, you know, with the magnet on the back, very easy to just place it anywhere. Here's the buttons that are on the keypad. So we have play pause button. There's a track forward button. The favorites button is probably one of the key functions of this piece, because what that allows you to do is it allows you to toggle through your different favorites that you have set up in Sonos. So you should utilize your favorites if you're going to be utilizing this keypad. But the great part is that I can easily skip to different genres of music. I can skip to different artists of music or different artists. I can skip from different albums. Anything that I have set up as a Sonos favorite, I can easily toggle through those favorites. And then the last piece is I do have the volume control as well. Each keypad pairs directly with the Sonos device. So I could set up this Express Audio keypad to talk to a Sonos Connect. It could be talking to a Connect amp. It could be talking to a Play 5 device. Any Sonos device, I can pair this keypad to talk to. And it's going to talk to one device. You can also have multiple keypads talking to one device too. So if you wanted one in either side of the room, or one for a nightstand for either nightstand, you can easily do that. The keypad then can also control the whole home whenever groups are created. So if you have the Express Audio keypad communicating or paired with a Sonos Connect, for example, and that Connect is the leader of the group, and you group that together with other zones, that keypad now will control the entire group as well. As far as configuring the keypad, we have an app written for this, so there's an iPort app, and what that does is that allows you to take the keypad and pair it with the device that you want it to talk to. It's not an app that you would use on a regular basis, but it's an app that you would use to set up the keypad, to pair it, configure it, and then from there, all the control would be taken over by the Sonos app. Just see here's a screenshot of kind of how that app looks and the functionality of that. And we are a Sonos endorsed partner, and we're moving along in that relationship. And so this is part of that. The endorsed partnership is this Express Audio keypad. And again, this product will be released in about 2 weeks. and the retail price on this is $99. So that concludes, guys, the scripted portion of the webinar. I wanted to leave plenty of time at the end to see if there were any questions or even topics that you would like to discuss a little bit further. We do have some time, but I wanted to open it up here at the end and see if there were any questions or any other things that you folks would like to add as well.
Great, Nick. It does not. There hasn't been any questions that have come through yet, so we'll leave it open here. Just want to congratulate Jeff Magnema from Rooter Technologies, who won the raffle for the iPort Surface. So we're going to get that out for him. He's very excited to put that in his showroom. So thanks, Jeff.
Congrats. So I maybe while we think of some questions, I can
question that's come up here. Is there a way to hardwire the keypad? I'm thinking he might be talking about the Express.
Yeah. So at this point, there is not a way to hardwire the Express audio keypad. Again, that's just going to utilize the lithium-ion battery, and because of the way that we're mounting that on the surface without any protrusions into the wall cavity, there's no back box or anything like that made for it at this point.
Okay. Another question came in about is there any chance of any kind of Android support in the future, any Android tablet support?
No, not at this point. Because the hardware is so varied on the Android side, it's been hard for us to nail down a manufacturer or even a size of tablet that we would support there. But we would certainly solicit any feedback or any advice if you guys are seeing a certain device being mentioned or asked for. Please let us know. We'd like to take a look at that further. Well, we kind of have a second here. If you'll see, you guys can still see my screen, correct?
Correct. Okay.
I just wanted to show you a couple features here on our website. I find these being very helpful. Under iPortProducts.com, if you go to support, this is the landing page for the support side. You'll see that there's a little section here that will show some news. But what I really want to show you here is if you have an iPad in front of you, and let's say it's not powered up or you don't know what model it is, there is a lot of different revisions of iPad. There's a way to actually tell what model you have without actually even powering up the iPad. So if you're looking at a customer's iPad and you need to figure out which model you have, there's a really, really small serial number printed on the back of the iPad. That serial number will have 5 digits in it at some point that will start with A. I believe it's at the tail end of the iPad. But you'll see that each one of those can correspond with the different numbers here. So if you look there and you're looking at like an A1474, for example, you'll see on our chart that that's actually an iPad Air. So a really useful way to kind of identify somebody's iPad. I get this question a lot. Somebody will just hand me an iPad and say, hey, I don't know what model this is. Can you help me figure it out? Just know that there's a little matrix here on our website that allows you to figure that out. Once you know what the iPad is, you can also scroll on down and you'll see that we have a product selection guide that will allow you to see what iPort products are compatible with that particular model. So in my example where I had an iPad Air 1, I can see that I could use one of the launch port sleeves or one of the control mount or even one of the surface mount pieces as well.
Okay, any other questions? You guys can feel free to unmute yourself one at a time if you're driving and would just like to ask it out loud instead of typing. I see some of you are on some mobile devices, so I'm assuming you're in your car. Okay. Well, the product is in stock at AllNet, so if you'd like to get something for your showroom, be happy to work with you on that. If you have any upcoming projects, really like to recommend that you have a conversation with the customer about iPort. Okay. All right. With that, I guess that's about it. Nick, why don't you and I hang out for a few seconds, and if something comes up, they can answer. Otherwise, everybody's free to go. Thank you.